And I'm afraid that the answer to that question is not so straightforward, in that we can't tell who will develop speech and we can't tell when they will develop speech. And we do see, just as you described, that trajectory of language development is very different from person to person. And we do see that it can be different, as you said, from a neurotypical language development, but neurotypical language development also is very variable, especially in the early years. So we see that even more so with an autistic population. Each child is different, and we do see that a lot of variability around language development. Now we see huge variability in language development in neurotypical children as well, especially during the preschool years, and even more so in language development in autism. We can see that some children will develop very fluent speech, sometimes in advance of where you'd expect them to be for their age, and for others, verbal language comes and starts later than we would see in a neurotypical population. And then for others, they do not develop speech, verbal speech, in a way that is functional for them in their everyday life. So they might use alternative methods and means of communication. So we very much, when we're working with anybody in any family and any child around communication, we're very much focused on their presentation, how they are communicating, and thinking about that in a broad sense. So thinking about communication not just in terms of the words that we say, but actually in terms of how we send messages, which is much more broad. We tend to focus on speech alone, but actually there's lots of other methods that we can use to send a message. But it is difficult to predict about language emergence and whether verbal speech will be a means that the person develops to communicate. It's very varied.